evening. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Town of Wendell Board of Commissioners and welcome all of you here tonight. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by East Wake High School student Kelsey McNair. Kelsey is an exceptional young lady who has made a tremendous impact in her community and academic career. As a senior at East Wake High School, Kelsey has shown an unwavering dedication to her studies, achieving an impressive 4.2778 weighted GPA. Her academic excellence is a testament to her hard work and commitment to learning. In addition to her academic achievements, Kelsey has been an active member of her community in the town of Wendell by playing basketball in the Wendell Parks and Recreation Department. She's been playing basketball since a very young age, and her love of the sport has only grown stronger over the years. She's represented her school as a member of the women's basketball program for 4 years and has also been involved in volunteer work at her church. Kelsey is an exemplary student who has taken a diverse range of academic placement, honors, and career and technical education courses, making her a well-rounded individual. She has consistently achieved academic success, earning all A's and 1 B throughout her high school career. That 1 B will teach you the best lesson, but I hate it for you. When I read that, I was like, oh. That's okay. Kelsey's exceptional interpersonal skills have made her a great team player. She's always willing to collaborate with others to achieve shared goals, and her ability to communicate effectively has made her a valuable asset to her community. Kelsey has a keen ear for listening and understanding diverse perspectives, and her community service reflects her ability to communicate her ideas with clarity and empathy. East Wake High School is honored to have Kelsey McNair represent the school at the Town of Wendell Board meeting. Kelsey's exceptional academic achievements and her dedication to community service make her a role model for her peers and an inspiration to all. The Town of Wendell can be proud having such a remarkable young lady representing their community. Well, my goodness, that's very impressive. We're very proud of you.
Thank you.
I spoke to Kelsey before the meeting tonight, and I know all of y'all know I'm a Wolfpacker. She's going to Carolina, but I told her as long as she's wonderful, go to college. So we wish you the very, very best in college. You have already demonstrated that you know how to get things done, and you just got the world at your feet. I can't wait to see what you're going to accomplish. All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For our invocation tonight, we are going to hear from the Wendell United Methodist Church through the Wendell Council of Churches from Wallace Johnson. Good evening.
McGray, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to pray this evening. The Council of Churches has had a busy spring season. We had a early sunrise service on Easter Sunday morning. That was a lot of fun, and then we had a community breakfast after. You may have also noticed some bags on your porches. If you're in town, we collected over 900 bags of food that's gone to our local food pantries. Our people at Wendell Methodist just put it all away today, and it was all down the hallways, all in our youth room, all in every sort of corner and nook and cranny, so that will go to serve a lot of hungry people. We also last week did our National Day of Prayer worship, which was a great opportunity for the community to come together and pray. So it's a privilege to serve as a pastor in this community. I absolutely love it. It's a great place to raise a family and work and live, and so I'm grateful to pray on behalf of our community. So let's pray. God, we're grateful for the day, for the beauty of the day, for the gift of sunshine and the warming of the spring that reminds us of new life to come, no matter where we have been, where we are now. The promise that you give us is that new life continues to come. I pray that new life would continue here in Wendell as we grow, that we would grow to glorify you, that we would grow in our love for one another. This evening I'm grateful for our town leaders, and we pray for our commissioners, Deloach and Ternaski and Eatman and Lutz and Joyner and Mayor Gray, that they would lead us well, and that we as a community would support them as they support us. And this we pray in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Not, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, public comment period. The public can participate in public comment either by signing up for public comment when you get here on the night of a meeting, or you can submit written statements via email to the town clerk on the Friday before the Monday meeting by 5 p.m., and they will be read into the record. Both of those are 3-minute limits. We have 2 people signed up tonight. The first is Caitlin Gooch.
Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Gooch. My address is 6400 Nightdale Eagle Rock Road, Wendell, North Carolina. I just wanted to stop by and say that I'm Caitlin, the founder of Saddle Up and Read nonprofit in Wendell. And this past week, we were featured on PBS The Assembly. If you missed it, you can watch it on YouTube, but it will air again twice the rest of this month, I believe. And it was a really good segment by Julia Wall, who followed me around for a couple of days, like a year ago. But it was really nice, and I think everybody should tune in or catch it on YouTube.
What's the name of the program again?
PBS The Assembly.
Yes, okay. I will. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And Haley Gooch.
Hi, my name's Haley Gooch. I just wanted to say that I joined the volleyball rec team, and I play beach volleyball.
Well, I'm glad you told us that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
We'll move into our recognitions, reports, and presentations. Item 4A is the recognition of East Wake High School staff member Tiffany Robinson. Miss Tiffany Robinson is a highly accomplished educator who has made significant contributions to the town of Wendell as the Dean of Student Services at East Wake High School. Since joining East Wake in July of 2019, Miss Robinson has brought with her a wealth of experience and expertise, having previously served as a school counselor at Millbrook High School and the Dean of Student Services in the Carborough Chapel Hill School District. Ms. Robinson has been an outstanding leader at East Wake High School, where she has been instrumental in implementing a comprehensive school counseling program that prioritizes the needs of students, builds relationships with families and the community, and contributes to the holistic educational development of students through academic, career readiness, and social-emotional programming. Despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, Ms. Robinson has continued to demonstrate exceptional leadership and dedication to East Wake students, ensuring that they receive the best possible support and guidance during these challenging times. Under Ms. Robinson's leadership, East Wake has made significant strides in improving test scores, becoming a magnet school, and increasing services for students facing mental health challenges. Her tireless efforts have helped to create positive and inclusive learning environment that values the well-being and success for all students. While Ms. Robinson will be greatly missed by the East Wake community, her decision to take a break and spend more time with her daughter and husband is well deserved. Her contributions to the town of Wendell have been invaluable, and her legacy as an exceptional educator and leader will continue to inspire and guide future generations of students and educators alike. East Wake wishes to recognize Ms. Robinson for her outstanding contributions and wishes her all the very best in her future endeavors. We just wanted to have you here tonight. That was such high praise, first of all. But we wanted to have you here tonight just to thank you for everything you've done for our kids in Wendell and to recognize all of your accomplishments and wish you the very best on your next adventure. So thank you for that, and well done.
Thank you. I would say that working in Wendell was like coming home. I'm from a small town in northeastern North Carolina, and working in Chapel Hill and Raleigh, when I got to Wendell, it was home. And so the last 4 years have been a wild ride of sorts, and I'm just thankful to have played a small role in helping, build partnerships with Wake Tech, like on the ground.
Yeah.
Certainly not at y'all's level, but, and I know that that's going to be a huge partnership and just do wonderful things for the town of Wendell. So I won't be too far away. Mr. Austin has my number, and so if he needs anything or if the school needs anything, I'm happy to help and support. So thank y'all so much.
Thank you, thank you. Item 4B is a proclamation recognizing May 8th through 12th, 2023 as National Economic Development Week. And we have Matt Garner up here, our Economic Development Director. I guess that's your director?
Specialist.
Specialist, thank you. So, whereas the International Economic Development Council is the largest professional economic development organization dedicated to serving economic developers, and whereas the International Economic Development Council provides leadership and excellence in economic development for communities, members, and partners through conferences, training courses, advisory services, and research, in-depth publications, public policy advocacy, and initiatives such as accredited economic development organization programs, the Certified Economic Developer designation, and the Entrepreneurship Development Program. And whereas economic developers promote economic well-being and the quality of life for their communities by creating, retaining, and expanding jobs that facilitate growth, enhance wealth, and provide a stable tax base. And whereas economic developers stimulate and incubate entrepreneurism in order to help establish the next generation of new businesses, which is the hallmark of the American economy. And whereas economic developers are engaged in a wide variety of settings, including rural and urban, local, state, provincial, and federal governments, public-private partnerships, chambers of commerce, universities, and a variety of other institutions. And whereas economic developers attract and retain high-quality jobs, develop vibrant communities, and improve the quality of life in their regions. And whereas economic developers work in the town of Wendell within the state of North Carolina, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Wendell recognizes the week of May 8th through May 12th, 2023 as Economic Development Week, and reminds individuals of the importance of this community celebration, which supports expanding career opportunities and making lives better. This duly proclaimed this the 8th day of May 2023, and it's going to be signed by me. So, do you have anything you want to say about what you do here in Wendell?
Well, I do quite a lot of things. For sure, economic development is a large umbrella, and as you guys are aware, and I hope all the citizens of Wendell are aware, there's a lot going on. Economic development takes a lot of forms, but in most of those forms, it's not a fast process. But we are really excited to be here in Wendell, and I think everybody else should be too.
Well, we sure appreciate everything that you do to keep us thriving and growing and exciting.
Thank you.
So, do you want to take a picture now? Okay. Two more. It's that time of year. Item 4C is a proclamation recognizing May 14th through 20th, 2023 as National Police Week and May 15th, 2023 as Peace Officers Memorial Day. Good evening, Captain Slaughter. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you, everybody.
Good. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. Excuse me. And whereas the members of the law enforcement agency of the Wendell Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of those inside the town of Wendell. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that the members of the Wendell Police Department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas all citizens of Wendell should remember and recognize the men and women who serve and protect them, and keep in mind that there are law enforcement officers working in town every hour of every day to ensure that they remain safe. Now, therefore, as we near the end of the week of recognition, I, Virginia Gray, Mayor of the Town of Wendell, do recognize the week of May 14th through 20th, 2023 as National Police Week, and further recognize May 15th as Police Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice and service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of their duty. Duly proclaimed this, the 8th day of May, 2023, and signed by me.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And being able to work in the town of Wendell, anytime we have big events and stuff, it's just great to have everyone come up and thank us for everything. It's just a great community to work for. And saying this from the bottom of my heart, because I hear that the police department, from the officers and everybody, we're very appreciative for the support we get from you all, so we can provide those services to the town.
Pleasure. Thank you for everything that you do.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, item 4D is the proclamation recognizing May 20th, 2023 as Kids to Parks Day. Whereas May 20th, 2023 is the 13th Kids to Park Day, organized and launched by the National Park Trust and held annually on the third Saturday of May. And whereas Kids to Parks Day empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit local parks, public lands, and waters, and whereas we should encourage children to lead a more active lifestyle to combat issues of childhood obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and hypercholesterolemia, and whereas Kids to Park Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and the outdoors, whereas Kids to Park Day will recognize the importance of recreating responsibly while enjoying the benefits of the outdoors. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Wendell Town Board of Commissioners, I, Virginia Gray, Mayor of the Town of Wendell, do hereby proclaim May 20th as Kids to Park Day, duly proclaimed this the 8th day of May, 2023. I think on that day there's some special things planned at the park. If I'm not mistaken, we usually have some special things out there. Is that correct? Anybody in here know? Yes, there are. So keep an eye on our social media. I'm sure there'll be more on there about that coming up. All right, now we're going to move into our public hearings. We have one tonight, but it's a big one. Public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 Town of Wendell budget. Mr.
Good evening.
Collins. Good evening.
We're getting towards the end of my favorite season of the year, and I'll have to wait a few days and then start back to next year's budgeting and as your budget officer. Pursuant to state statute, it's the role of your budget officer to submit a balanced budget, and to submit a budget that starts a process that requires, before you adopt a budget, to hold a public hearing, which is where we are tonight. The budget that you received is a total of $33,716,134. Obviously, balance means revenues equals expenses. How that breaks out for the public is most of that's capital. It's our larger projects. Nearly $10 million of that is carrying over capital projects from our current year into the next year. A lot of the projects that have been under design and right-of-way acquisition are moving to construction next year, so that's a larger part of that funding there. There's also things like a new public works yard for our growing community that accounts for about $6.7 million of that. Personnel, local government, as you know, is a service organization, so our people usually trend out on that second one. Operations at 5.3, and debt is a small amount, 4% of our overall budget. What the public usually likes to hear at this point when the manager's recommending his budget is that there's no proposed property tax increase for town of Wendell by the town this fiscal year. I do not have control of other governmental agencies that may increase that. So the tax rate remains at 47 cents per $100 of taxable value. There's principally one main fee increase proposed in the budget, $20 to $75 annually, and the stormwater fee. As you know, the state audited our program, and we have some lifting to do over the next few years. And this funding helps get to that program of getting our stormwater program into compliance. Additionally, there were a couple minor adjustments to zoning inspection fee with a reinspection fee per board's direction at our budget workshop. That fee was increased to $50. That's for one inspection. The main zoning fee is 3 different inspections, so that was increased to $150. Each inspection being $50 to cover costs, staff costs, and equipment. That helped solve another request of the board to get the sidewalk funding up to $250,000. So we appreciated your guidance there to help solve a problem with an added expense. The other one was instead of increasing for youth athletics, the in-town just focus on the out-of-town participants. We tend to have more out-of-town participants in our youth recreation than our in-town, so that increased our recreation revenue by about $4,000. Based on your discussion about wanting to do more in the scholarship fund, we put that money there, and staff's working on some implementation improvements and policy discussion to go over with you this summer to roll that out in a meaningful way moving forward. There is new debt proposed, principally $6.5 million for the new public works yard, and then as discussed by the board over a longer period of time, a referendum for potential bond offerings. If that is approved, then there's $1.195 million approximately that goes to starting a new athletic field complex project this coming fiscal year. Our budget document looks a little different. If you go online to the town website, the public can view that there anytime. We have a new layout that uses a software platform called ClearGov. The amount of transparency and information there can be overwhelming. But we're very transparent in what we do. We take spending the taxpayers' dollar very seriously, and we're very transparent about how we do that and when we do that in our budgeting and in our financial platform. So I encourage people to go and look at that new tool and dig into the data. And welcome to reach out to me anytime if they have questions about our budget or allocation of resources. The general layout doesn't change much. As you know, the budget has won the GFOA Budgetary Presentation Award three years running. We hope to get a 4th, so we don't want to change that too much. Some of the improvements that we did make is we increased public input into the process through strategic planning charrettes to get feedback on program and project guidance that helps guide the budgets over a 2-year time period. We looked at our process and amendment wording, and then the use of ClearGov just increases some wording that GFOA likes, but also increases more transparency, as I was mentioning, for the public. In talking with the board and staff, it became pretty clear about what we needed to focus on going into this budget. There were 3 primary areas. One was to maintain the commitment to a people-first attitude in our organization. Invest in our recurring core services. The board has allocated and invested resources to accomplish program improvement in those spaces in past years and want to make sure that we keep advancing in that space. And then finally, solve for capital needs of a growing community. So maintaining a people-first commitment. As I mentioned, we're a service organization, and so there's a value to our employees and what they can get accomplished. Like many other sectors, perhaps more so in public sector, there's a lot of employees leaving public service. Number one reason is burnout. Burnout can happen due to harassment. It can happen due to workload. Or feeling unsupported. You'll see on our turnover rate, unlike many of our comparatives, our turnover rate has decreased, nearly halved in the last 5 years. That's reflective of that commitment by our organization and this board in maintaining that people-first commitment, and that's continued forward into this year in the ways here on the screen that I know I've gone over with you in the past. There's one new bullet on there from the budget workshop, and that's no health care premium increases for employees, and I'll get into that at the end of the presentation. Recurring core services, street resurfacing program. The public will see a lot of street surfacing maintenance this year with microsurvey application. That's like if you have tired, cracked skin, you put something on your skin, it makes that skin last another 5-10 years. It's kind of like that new skin for roads. We want to extend the life of roads to keep them from falling apart in a short period of time. Sometimes, y'all know, sometimes the analogies hit, sometimes they go, wah, wah. There's a lot of other investments on smaller line items that are equally important that make a difference within our community. It doesn't take a lot of signs and fixtures to improve traffic safety with a four-way stop. So there's funding there. Thinking back 5 years ago when there was basically $9,000 in the streets budget, this is a commitment that continues to reinvest, and this is primarily in our older core area of town to maintain and improve these roads so that funds will be available for other areas as they age later. Sidewalk program, board said make sure it's $250. It is $250 in the recommended budget you received. In addition to that, there's a couple significant capital projects that have a lot more sidewalk in it with Wendell Boulevard pedestrian project. That's signalization and pedestrian crossing at Wendell Falls Parkway and Wendell Boulevard, and extending sidewalk basically from Wendell Elementary out to Food Line. It closes that gap, and that moves to construction this year. Tends to be a lot of questions in the public about why can't we do a light or a signal there, or why can't we have sidewalks there? That's getting built this year. It's been in design and right-of-way acquisition the last few years. Hollybrook Park will go to construction, and there's a long section along the front there that extends sidewalk there and also connects to the neighborhood and back that grows at Deerfield. Vehicle replacement program, that's our 4-year cycle lease program. We continue that with a few new vehicles this year. With the lag in acquiring fleet vehicles right now, we pre-ordered some this year to arrive next year, so we didn't have to put as many in the budget. We pre-ordered out of this year. Technology replacement, we're winding down on replacing out very aged technology that was here 5 years ago, and we're shifting more into some of the server and ancillary platforms that you see listed there. Stormwater permit compliance, that's a big increase investment this year with the increase in the fee. The biggest impact that the public's going to see is that stormwater small capital project that's getting into a lot of these older neighborhoods and resolving some very old stormwater issues that can create property issues or recurring flooding or erosion within subdivisions around downtown. So when we start solving for those capital needs, the first thing we do is back out those recurring program costs. And then we move to the carryover projects and move them in to make sure we implement what we promised in the past. We look at core government facilities, make sure we have safe, adequate facilities for our employees to provide services. And then one of the board's big directions is you've done a lot of community planning and what those capital needs are, both in transportation and parks and recreation, and what's the funding strategy to start moving towards implementation of that. And so within that 5-year plan, you'll see the nearly $46 million over 5 years for capital projects, about $10 million in transportation, the remainder in parks and greenways. You can see a list there. Probably the biggest ticket item is that new recreation center. We basically have one gym that's serving our town. Our town's doubled in size in the recent history. It's continuing to grow. We need our recreation space to grow with our community. And so that's the largest lift within that borrowing. But it also provides for an athletic field complex that helps our partnership with the Wendell Rams, also football club in North Carolina, so our families don't have to travel out of town for soccer. They'll have a more robust soccer program or field hockey and lacrosse programs in town with a complex like that. Connectivity in greenways is also key. You can see there's funding to get phases constructed for Buffalo Creek Greenway as well as the Main Street Greenway. The transportation projects, first is implementing the transportation plan and design improvements that we are starting in the next month or so with Eagle Rock Road and Wendell Falls Parkway intersection. Our transportation plan has 2 4-lane roads coming together. There's also important pedestrian and golf cart movements that we have to get through that intersection moving forward. An additional $8 million that can help implement additional transportation projects, whether that's widening of Wendell Falls Parkway or some other road or improving other intersections. That's to be determined by the board and community moving forward. So with that, this is one of the charts that you can see online. It breaks out where different revenues come from. And a lot here deals with loan proceeds and transfers fund balance. So carryover projects and loans to get the capital projects done. That's the green to the right, the larger one. The next biggest thing is the blue at the bottom. That's your ad valorem taxes. With increased growth, our tax value also increases, and so that revenue increases that allows our organization to grow with that to meet the needs of our community. Sales tax is also driven by population, and more people in Wake County means more people spending money. So sales tax is another prominent municipal income in North Carolina. A lot of the other ones are smaller, and they add up at times. Grants can sometimes help as well, and they play into some of the smaller wedges. That's kind of a breakout of those wedges in numbers. Expenditures, kind of the same way there. Capital is the big green, personnel, blue, operating yellow, and you can see debt being the smaller red one. When you look at it by department, the obvious 2 larger departments are Public Works and its sub-departments and police. Those are also the largest number of people, so people being a larger expense item than operations, then you would expect the larger departments to also be the larger number there. Went a little bit through people first. From a personnel perspective, you can see there's a 3% increase in range. That moves everybody in range. It reduces compression, which is important during growth, so that you're not hiring people at the same pay rate as someone that has been there a few years. Adds 2 new positions, a police officer and an engineer. Police has a few existing open positions that we want them to work through and fill. I've directed them to provide a problem with me of being fully staffed, and I'd be glad to come back if we need more resources later in that area. There's some reclassifications you can see in Public Works that we're working through this year. Part of that is in response to compensation and classification and remaining competitive. Our IT specialist became an IT manager this year, so this year is a full year budget for that reclassification. Gregory's been doing more work than the job description described, and we needed to update the job description to capture his work. Our budget anticipated a 10% increase in health. Actuals came in a little bit lower than that, and I'll talk about that a little bit at the end. Operations, I'll move through pretty quick. This is a municipal election year. Our budget does include funding for an early voting site. That was a policy priority of the board. We're trying to build some talent pipeline, so we have money for a fellow and an intern in the budget. You can see the financial advisor services for a full year are funded. Economic development still has a building upfit grant, so if anybody wants to start a restaurant in downtown Wendell and is worried about the cost of upfitting their building, they should talk to Matt Garner, who you saw earlier, and he can help you with that. Also, existing businesses doing facade grants to improve their existing location, hopefully in a historically sensitive manner. And there was a reduction in cost in that department with no outside consultant anticipated. Planning, part of planning you'll see is funding that's for surveying and mapping. That's part of our merger cost, getting properties mapped and annexed and then transferred over to Raleigh as part of the merger. Janitorial services was an increase this year, but there were 3 new facilities and a new contract to work through there. Emergency communications, more police officers with more communications tends to drive that cost up. Fuel's a great unknown in an unstable global economy, and so fuel prices have gone up and down at times, and we tend to budget up a little bit right now. And the final implementation on something that's been reported out to the board about acquiring equipment and training needs for less lethal response and active or higher risk situations like unfortunately we've seen around the country this year. And Public Works with growth means there's more streetlights, so there's more funding needed there. Holiday direct decorations were reduced a little bit. We're not adding another level to the tree this year, so we were able to take that amount out. But Dakota will still make the lights pretty for us at Christmas. Solid waste collections reflects our downtown commercial service that we provide for our businesses downtown. There's a still needed money for contract engineering. We have our first signal at 3rd and Main, so we have signal maintenance line in streets, which is new. Contract engineering was reduced a little bit because we're hiring an engineer in-house halfway through the year, so we're able to reduce that some. Labor costs are increasing everywhere. That includes our contract services in Parks and Rec. It's hard to find umpires and officials, and they cost more when you have a business that provides them. Fireworks are continued again this year, so July 2nd, I believe that's a Sunday at Wendell Park. That's getting ready to go. And there's an increase in our scholarship program for youth athletics up to $5,000 from $1,000. And non-departmental and special appropriations, not much change there. A whole bunch of words and numbers, It's a 5-year capital improvement plan. Probably the neatest thing at the bottom is it's a fiscally constrained plan, which means there's revenues that match the expenses for it. And that's a $94 million 5-year plan. So as long as those revenues track in and the expenses stay the same, we'll be able to implement that plan. That probably is the first year we've had that in Wendell in a long time. The 2024 budget, 19,970,178, has a limited use of new general fund reserve, and the debt amount I'd already talked about. There's 20 projects moving forward in 2024. And these are the 20 projects that'll be available both in the budget and in this presentation for public review. I know the board has seen them a number of times at this point. Debt schedule. Town of Wendell does not have a relatively large amount of debt. There's a state calculation that we follow to determine it. Our debt limit is 8% of assessed value, which you can see in the gray on the right. That gives our anticipated net debt at the end of this year is $20,333,000. That's including the new borrowings. That means that we have a legal debt margin even borrowing that amount of $94.5 million. So there's plenty of margin in the event of some catastrophic need for additional borrowing. Like I said, that's debt service is 4% of overall budget, so it's a low number. Another one of those policy areas that we want to keep a close eye on is our general fund reserve balance. The town's policy is a more fiscally conservative policy than how the state treasurer calculates that. The way we calculate it at 40%. At the end of this fiscal year, with anticipated expenses, your general fund reserve will be at 59.9, which is higher than current fiscal year estimate. So that remains healthy and positive. It becomes increasingly challenging as our operating expenses increase over time. It just naturally decreases. But like I mentioned before, there's not much of a general fund reserve allocation within that 5-year plan even. And that gives us a chance to maintain that above the 40% even with the increasing budgets moving forward. All right, so what's happened in a couple weeks? Could have just led with this, and y'all would at that point have known everything, but of course this might be the first time people in the public are seeing this, so we need to go into a little more detail and length. Revenues, there was, we put in a little additional revenue and sales tax. The planning fee change that the board recommended generated a little more funding. We also reduced an expense that's not shown on here in planning for consultant services a little bit. That's how we got sidewalks up to $250,000. So that's how we resolved that one. So the sidewalk expense is up $144,500 from what you saw a couple weeks ago. The change in the recreation fee, given that 60 to 70% of users are non-residents, increased our recreation fees by about $4,000, and as I mentioned, that got moved into the recreation scholarship line to be able to do more in that space. Those are the only budgetary changes from what you saw 2 weeks ago and are reflected in the recommended budget that was provided to you. In the 5-year capital plan, there is the $8 million transportation plan implementation that the board asked for at the work session, so that's in the 5-year capital plan. The other thing that's come in the last 2 weeks is we met with our HR consultants, JRW. They indicated that our main medical health costs will come in at about a 7% premium increase. That's actually not bad for healthcare costs. Our performance was, I guess we did not have very many, knock on wood, bad medical conditions within our limited organization that drove that up. And so it was a modest 7%. We had budgeted for 10 based on prior conversation with our consultant. It came in a little below that. Our dental costs were up 12 instead of 10. That's an ancillary. It's a smaller number than our main medical. Vision had no planned premium costs increase. And so with the savings in what we had budgeted with our health care plan is how we covered the employee premium cost increase, so that the 3% increase for employees is not going to be eroded by a cost of living increase in health care for them. So that's a meaningful little shift there that has no impact on the bottom line of our budget, but it meets your employee-friendly goal. It also covered the little additional in dental. We also added a one provider option rather than going out to a separate provider for short-term disability, long-term disability, secondary accidental insurance, or critical illness. Critical illness is sometimes called cancer insurance in the past, but it covers a larger number of chronic illnesses nowadays. So Mutual of Omaha will be our provider in that, and all that will work through JRW in one enrollment period instead of separate enrollment, so it's cleaner and easier for our employees, and we'll have a better vetting system of the products in that manner. I believe this will be my last slide, which brings us to today, which is the budget hearing, which is next. And welcome to answer any questions the board may have or after any public speaks.
Yeah. All right, let's open the public hearing. Any questions from the board? Oh my gosh, I can hardly believe that. I'm sure y'all will come up with one. Don't let me down.
I'll start us
Thank
real
you.
quick. Mainly just to say thank you to Mark and to all of y'all for, this is,
Yeah.
I think you just obviously said a lot, $35 million worth of stuff. And we've talked about it a lot internally. Like you said, this may be the first time that a lot of other people are hearing about it, though. So I don't want it to sound like you've said all that and we just said, okay.
Yeah.
This reflects a ton of feedback that you've gotten from us, and I just want to thank you for hearing what we've said. I think that this reflects everything I've said, and I think everything that I've heard. And I know I've said and heard a lot over the last few weeks and months. So just thank you very much.
Yeah, I know the schedule says January is a start. That might be like the budget document start and department start. But I know in talking with the board, with your strategic plan, which is part of the budget document, that y'all will consider adopting at the end of the meeting tonight. That's really where you start giving us that project and policy that guides the departments into January in your budget retreat. And so thank you all for giving us clear direction. It makes this work a lot easier.
I'm very excited about the software. I hope that people will take a moment to take a look at it. I've looked at it, and it's very clear, very user-friendly. I'm very excited about people being able to see it in that format. So we're just getting better every year, making all kinds of improvements. All right, is there anyone that would like to speak about the budget that's here with us tonight? This is your chance. Well, all right, we'll close the hearing, and we will take it up again May 22nd.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, we'll move into our administrative items. The first is item 6A, Fourth Amendment to the Agreement for Upgrade Streetlight Services between the Town of Wendell and Wendell Falls Community Association. Mr. Coates.
Yep, good evening, Mayor and board members. The next three items are all related to streetlights, so if I am repetitive, It's because they are all related to the same lighting policy. So we'll go through this. The first, item 6A, is the Fourth Amendment to the agreement between the town and Wendell Falls. The action requested is to authorize the town manager to sign the amended streetlight reimbursement agreement with Wendell Falls. The town's lighting policy permits subdivisions that have more than 25 upgraded streetlight fixtures to have a contract with Duke/Progress Energy and request the town reimburse them the cost of the standard fixture. This allows neighborhoods to use a more elaborate or decorative lighting fixture without the town incurring any of those additional costs. So, couple just standard streetlights on your left. That's the standard streetlight. For example, when a new development is coming in, they do pay streetlight fees and pay for that initial install and the equipment. And then the town maintains those streetlights as long as they're there in the future. The upgraded streetlight, you have a couple options. If you're 25 lights or more, our policy says you need to have a contract with Duke, and we reimburse you the cost for those decorative lights, the difference between using a standard and a decorative. If you're under 25 and you want to use decorative streetlights, you have to bring us a payment for 20 years of that difference up front. And so, to give you some examples, some neighborhoods are using a standard streetlight. They pay their fees, they install them. Town, they're leased, and the town and Duke maintains them, and the town pays for those through a monthly streetlight bill. Decorative, if you're under 25, the good example of that will be coming out of the ground are the townhomes at the golf course. They have 11 pedestrian decorative lights. They brought us a check for 20 years of the cost difference. After that 20 years, the town maintains that fee, but they have to do upfront the cost for 20 years to use that light. Those over 25, like Wendell Falls and a few of the neighborhoods you're going to see tonight, their HOA has an agreement with us, and once a year they send us the fees they paid, and we reimburse them through a line item in the planning department budget. Decorative light that you see there on the right is what they're using in Wendell Falls, and they're actually using in both of the other neighborhoods that you'll see tonight as well. So our agreement with Wendell Falls started in 2018, and we've had various amendments throughout the years, 2019, 2021, and then this will be our fourth agreement. It covers lights that were added in the last year for Taylor Road, and they added streetlights. The reimbursement amount is going from roughly $33,000 to almost $37,000. That is in the planning department's proposed budget that was presented before you tonight as a line item. And so it's budgeted in fiscal year 24 for the reimbursement. The policy does state each year by March they have to send us the fees they paid for the previous year so that we can budget for those as the budget's being created. So, standard policy that we've done with Wendell Falls, staff's recommendation, of course, is to recommend approval and have you authorize the town manager to sign the agreement.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
So we're paying the same amount that we would normally pay for standard street lights and the standard number of street lights, and they can pay for as many extra things as they want, whether
Correct.
that's quantity or quality or both.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this is about. Be happy to make a motion when you're ready for it, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Move that we approve the Fourth Amendment to the upgraded streetlight services agreement with Wendell Falls Community Association.
And authorize the
And
town manager.
authorize the
to
town
sign.
manager to sign that agreement.
Okay. Well, they'll wave at us if we don't
I
have
know.
something in there. All right, we have a motion to approve state it again, I turned the page.
I move that we approve the amendment to the agreement for upgraded streetlight service with the town and Wendell Falls Community Association and authorize town manager to
Yes.
sign the same.
Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So one difference, so Wendell Falls is still adding phases. So we anticipate future amendments as
Yeah.
those phases continue. The two other items before you tonight, all the street lighting has already been done for those phases, and so we do not anticipate any additional
So
agreements.
you'll be coming back
With Wendell Falls,
when those times arise?
Mhm,
Okay.
yep. So item 6B is an agreement for
Make
upgraded.
a motion on this one when you're ready for it.
Yeah, read the title.
Yes, so it's an agreement for upgraded streetlight services between the town of Wendell and the Hollybrook Association, which is the Glendon Meadows subdivision on South Hollybrook Road.
Mm-hmm.
Same deal?
Same deal, yes, they're using pedestrian
We're
lighting.
paying for what we pay for, and they're paying for extras?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I move that we approve the agreement for upgraded streetlight services between the town and Hollybrook Association and authorize the manager to sign the same.
So we have a motion to approve the agreement for upgraded streetlight services, and we want to authorize the town manager to sign the streetlight reimbursement agreement with Hollybrook Association. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? No. All right. And here comes the last one, I think.
Yep, so then the last one, item C, and it is a
You
little
ready for a
different,
motion?
so,
Oh, okay.
give me just one moment, I'll let you, agreement for upgraded streetlight services between the town of Wendell and NC Wendell Parkway LLC. This is for the 1320 Wendell Falls Parkway, the townhome portion of that mixed-use project. Their agreement, very similar, so they have a total of 29 decorative streetlights. However, a zoning condition requires that they do that for the majority of them. And so that's why you'll see we're only reimbursing them for 5 standard streetlights, because per a zoning condition that they placed on the property to use decorative pedestrian lights. And so it is part of a streetlight, so it's a little bit different, but we're reimbursing them for the 5 standard lights that would have been required for portions outside of that zoning condition.
Not the whole
Their zoning condition requires the 2 main entrances to have decorative pedestrian lighting and wider sidewalks, and so they're required to do that per zoning condition. The others chose to do the decorative lights.
Right.
And so it's a little different situation, but so our reimbursement for them is a lot less. Also, they have not started construction on this project yet. And so we don't anticipate budgeting for that reimbursement till fiscal year 25. But we wanted to bring you the agreement since they want to use a decorative streetlight.
Commissioner Deloach?
I'm gonna ask a question before we roll through this one real quick. Take me back to the under X number of lights, prepay for 20 years.
Correct.
Talk me through that real quick.
Yep, so if you have under 25 decorative or pedestrian lights, the town's policy says that you have to pay for that upgraded light for 20 years, and then we make payments for Duke over those, but you have to upfront pay for those ahead of time.
At today dollars for
Yes.
20 years?
Yes.
There's no
no.
scaling, grade? Okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Good? You ready?
Madam Mayor, I move we authorize the streetlight agreement and streetlight reimbursement agreement with Wendell Parkway LLC and authorize the town manager to sign same.
Okay, we approve the streetlight agreement with NC Wendell Parkway LLC, and authorize the town manager to sign the streetlight reimbursement agreement. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor? All right.
Thank you all.
Item 6D is an agreement between Geosyntec Consultants and the town of Wendell to provide environmental services for the Wendell Brownfield program.
Good evening again. So we have negotiated an agreement with Geosyntec Consultants, who are our chosen brownfield environmental engineering firm. This is to administer the $500,000 grant we received from the EPA for a brownfield program creation. This MSA was provided to us by them, and it has gone through reviews by myself and our legal counsel, and they are happy with it. And this is sort of just the upfront framework of an agreement. This is all the sort of legalese. Most of what happens from here on out will be done through service agreements or service orders. So the bulk of the work gets done in sort of subsequent orders following this master service agreement. Examples of such work are phase 1 and 2 environmental studies for lots of things, and the ultimate goal of the brownfield program and this master service agreement is to take underutilized, vacant, or historically distressed properties and turn them into great redevelopment projects, specifically in downtown Wendell and including the Pleasant Grove project that Mark is very, very happy to be starting.
Yeah, the Carver School, yeah. All right, are there any questions on the board?
Move to approve the agreement between GS Sensic and the town of Wendell to provide environmental services and administer the EPA Brownfield grant and authorize the town manager or his designee to sign the agreement.
All right. We have a motion to approve the agreement and to authorize the town manager or his designee to sign the agreement. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor? Item 6E is our appointments to the Planning Board and the Parks and Recreation Commission in town.
Good evening. So tonight we will be asking for you to appoint to two of our boards, and then also requesting to reopen the other boards because there were not enough applications received. So there's one in-town planning board vacancy and 4 in-town Parks and Recreation Commission vacancies. We received 3 applications for the planning board in town and 6 for the Parks and Recreation Commission. Applicants were informed of the appointment process and encouraged to attend tonight's meeting and introduce themselves prior if they were able to. And so I will pass out the ballots. We're going to do planning board first. So you're just going to choose one and print your name. Okay, so our new planning board member is Matthew Mainage. And the next ballots we're going to pass out are for Parks and Recreation Commission. There are 6 applicants. You are to choose 4. And then write your name. Okay, so our new Parks and Recreation Commission members are Crystal McFadden, Leslie Rubio, Nicholas Kuhn, and Laurel Castillo. Thank you.
And we still have openings on the Appearance Commission, the Board of Adjustment for in-town and ETJ, the Downtown Development Commission, and ETJ on the Parks and Rec. Is that correct? So do you need the board to specifically direct you to continue to?
If y'all just give a head nod, that's enough.
And Mayor, I know we say this every time, but there was certainly qualified applicants that applied for this that may not have applied for the other. Can we make sure that if it's okay with them, there was some talent in these last applications we saw. If we could capture that talent on another board, that would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All All right, item 6F is the request to adopt the 2023 strategic plan. Hear from Mr. Collins again.
Kind of on 6E, I shared, I believe, with one board member anecdotally, but some experience of staff is typically if the economy is good and people are generally happier, it's harder to get appointed board members interested. So it might be a good sign that there's fewer, but it means from a commission standpoint that y'all have to go out and beat the bushes and work a little harder to get the applicants for us. So we appreciate your help in the next month to encourage. I'm going to be brief on this tonight because I know this is a topic that I've presented publicly a couple times. There's no changes since the draft plan was presented a couple months ago. A hard copy was provided to the board at the budget work session with the materials and has been available online. I've received no further comments, so I have no further additions or deletions over the past 2 months since it's been out publicly. It's a plan that guides budgets the next 2 years. There's a lot of reporting out to staff, to y'all, as you know, during those 2 years. We talk about it regularly as we're in the budget process. Not everything's funded in the budget. A lot of it is just staff effort on the initiatives, and we look forward to getting going on the new initiatives once adopted. This is a commitment process. The town had talked about what it wanted to do in the past, but putting that plan in writing, tying it to the resources that you allocate is an intentionality. It's an intentionality of y'all as elected officials, and it's a promise from management and staff to advance those initiatives on your behalf. And when we do that, it builds trust in our community and in our organization. So it's an important document, and thank you for working with me on developing it and staff since last fall. It's also a document in a new software format, Madam Mayor, to your new technology comment earlier. So it has a little nicer look, a little more professionally developed. So thank you to our communication manager, Megan Howard, for doing that. Started last fall. There were 4 public community charrettes. That was a new component to this process this year, incorporating public input. There was also presentations and comment from your appointed boards, tying to the last agenda item, who were able to review current and speak to future. And it just reminds me what great people y'all are appointing to those boards and the good feedback staff received from them in that process. And then with that new format, we presented that out in March and back to you now for adoption. And happy to answer any questions that you have from your reviews of the document or anything that you'd like me to make aware of.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I just have a comment, and I was going to make a comment on the budget. I remember the writing in the first year that Manager Collins did a budget for us, like there was no conversation about that. They just passed it. This is the conversation. So that big document that you just saw, I also remember Commissioner Boyette, who used to sit beside me, telling me one time, y'all wrote a budget and it doesn't raise taxes, but you didn't plan for the future. And I didn't really understand what he meant then. John Boyette's a much bigger thinker than I am, and that's a good thing. This budget plans for the future. This strategic plan makes sure that we're checking ourselves that as we move into the future, we're achieving not only our budget goals, but our goals at levels up and down the spectrum. I appreciate staff's hard work on this and the budget. I appreciate them both coming back before us on the same night because they're inextricably linked, and one makes the other one work, and I certainly appreciate y'all's work on that. And, if no one else has a comment, I've got a motion whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Move that we adopt the 2023 strategic plan as presented.
All right, we have a motion to adopt the 2023 strategic plan as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Moving to our other business, update on board committees by town board members, and start with the Wendell Volunteer Fire Department Board of Directors, Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Wendell Fire Department Board of Directors met last Thursday and discussed the same things that we're discussing tonight, the upcoming budget, the appreciation from the Fire Department Board for the inclusion in our budget of the traffic signal safety measures, and the upcoming new hires that will be coming out of the first ARPA Academy. This is the first academy that Wendell Fire has paid to send firefighters to, similar now to what our police department does. And we're certainly seeing a very good pool of applicants, so we're excited to get those folks on board. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Triangle J Council of Governments, Commissioner Deloach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. TJ Cog was actually moved up a week based on another conflict. So handful of items addressed. They had new employee introductions again. We're still going through folks that have joined earlier in the year. There was also, much like tonight, a budget public hearing as well. So went through those items. Budget, as you can imagine, with all the new employees, has actually gone up. I will also add that Senior Center, we did have a meeting. That date was changed. I know I'm not on the agenda tonight, but I'll speak to that quickly. Very little conversation there other than talk about the recent fish fry and updates on all of the new programming that they've had recently. So tons of things going on at Senior Center. 450 plus plates sold over the weekend. So great fundraiser for them for sure. Weather was nice, so that helped tremendously. Thank you.
All right. Move into our commissioners' reports and start with Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Was just thinking that this was a light week in this past week, and then I got to thinking through it, and no, it wasn't. Downtown, spring into the arts, and the Wendell Market was great on Thursday night. That's a really cool time to come out, and I know we have some meat on mains coming up. There's a ton going on in the town of Wendell. I had some of the best fried fish you could have at the Senior Center on Saturday. And looking at my calendar, there's something going on just about every other weekend from now until forever in Wendell. So check online and check our social media, but there are tons of things to do. That said, the reason that there are tons of things to do is because we have a huge group of volunteers on citizen advisory boards that show up and help us plan cool things and do cool things. You heard tonight that we are re-noticing and re-advertising for positions on the advisory board. Certainly hope that you will consider applying for one of those and get plugged in. Wendell is doing lots of things right now, and we'd certainly appreciate your help. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Lutz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just commenting earlier too as well, prior to the meeting, that the strategic plan, the budget, how professional they look, how well put together they are. It may not read quite as easy as a book, but it's well organized, and so it's easy to go through, it's easy to organize, easy to find things that you need. So it's and the conversation, like Commissioner Eatman said earlier, began so long ago that this wasn't our first time looking at it. This was discussions we've had for, I'd argue that, even last year, as we were talking about the budget, it carried from last year into this year. So thank you to the town staff who I know worked hard on this, and for the plan too, which is kind of our vision. I think I'd take a little more excitement in the strategic plan than I do the budget, and that's just because that's how I work. But the visioning and the planning and the looking forward and kind of how we're running our organization, I think sometimes is what is more outwardly visible than sometimes how the numbers behind the scenes are going. So one other thing too as well, I know I've received some comments too about some of the changes to the downtown, whether it and most of it refers to the stop signs. And I kind of advise people. I just tell them, hey, we have stop signs through downtown. We have a new crosswalk on Wendell Boulevard. I mean, take your time. I mean, this isn't if you have to, downtown streets, in my opinion, aren't meant to get from point A to B as quickly as you can. It's designed to to get through downtown area, which is going to have high pedestrian traffic, which is going to have people crossing streets and have events, and doing that safely too. So if you're heading through downtown and you're used to, going down 3rd Street as fast as you wanted to, don't do that anymore. You have stop signs, you pause, look around. If you want to get places quicker, then find other routes too. So, but I'm all for it. I've enjoyed being able to get from the north side of town down and over to downtown with the new crosswalk several times. I know my kids used to sit there and count how many cars would just blow past us and not let us cross, and now those numbers are much lower. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Commissioner Eatman?
I just want to talk about the budget a little bit more for just a minute. First of all, just to say that, this is a $34 million budget. That's really big. Those are big Wendell numbers, and I haven't checked the history book, but I think it's probably the biggest town budget we've ever had, kind of in a different league. That being said, a lot of that's money from last year, and there's big capital projects that we've been talking about for a few years now, and really that $34 million budget is taking care of the core stuff. We're making sure that we've got enough police officers to keep the town safe. We're taking care of the town staff that we do have. We're fixing the potholes in the streets. We're maintaining the infrastructure that we have, like streets and sidewalks and stormwater, trying to comply with the law. Some basic things that go into keeping a town running and having it be everything that folks want it to be. I think the other number that's one little piece of what Mark talked about tonight that is really, really important is, and make sure I get it right, $46 million. And that's the opportunity that everybody's going to have if this budget passes as it was presented tonight this fall, to decide whether or not you want to do more. If you want to take another big step beyond sort of these core, keep things running like they are, keep maintaining, stay where we're at. If you want to do more, if you want to put big money into a new athletic facility, if you want to put big money into a new rec center, if you want to put money into new greenways, unprecedented spending in transportation infrastructure, all things that we have real needs. And I think we all hear about it and talk about it all the time. But it's bigger than what we've normally done. It's more than what we can just do in the way that we've been planning and maintaining with a flat tax rate. I didn't even start with that, but Mark did, and that's a really important part of this budget. If you want to do more, you're going to have opportunity in November, as long as this is approved the way it was presented tonight, to decide whether or not that's something that as a town we want to spend more money. And that's 40 some odd million more dollars over the next 5 years. It's longer term. We're talking about the plan, like Commissioner Joyner said, planning for the long term and thinking about this stuff beyond just the next 12 months, beyond just the next election, but for the rest of my life and for the rest of my kids' lives. They don't even exist yet. So this is long-term thinking. But I'm really excited about the bond and the opportunity that I think we're all going to have to decide as a community together. And that's going to be a lot of conversations and a lot of thinking, and it's a real serious decision for us all to make in November. But we're going to get to decide as a community whether or not we want to do some more. So if you want to talk about the details of that, I'm going to be talking about it a lot, I imagine, for the rest of this year. And thinking about it a lot, too, because it is important. But I'm excited about the budget. Thanks to staff for making it happen.
Commissioner Deloach?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just start by saying thank you to everybody that applied for our citizen boards. I think that we continue to stockpile talent on our boards. I say it to anybody that will listen. A lot of our citizen boards are equally capable, if not superior, to a lot of town boards in surrounding areas, and certainly throughout the state. So we do still have openings, so please consider that. I will say Manager Collins said maybe it's a good thing that we have fewer. I think we take pride in having high numbers for participation, so I look forward to everybody joining in on the fun. Food drive, you heard a little bit about it tonight at the beginning of our meeting. We're pushing 1,000 bags collected throughout our community. I can't even tell you how much time I spent personally over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, today as well. I agreed to put my name and phone number on the sheet, on the bags. I knew that was a commitment, and it has certainly turned in to that. But I picked up probably a dozen more today. There are probably a handful more on my front porch when I get home tonight from the meeting. but, you know, my goal is to collect 1,000 bags. So if you contributed, I want to personally thank you. It's pretty amazing to see the outpouring of support that, you know, all of Wendell. This is not, you know, certain neighborhoods or locations. I literally picked up bags, picked up fish plates, picked up more bags. We were running all over town, so thank you if you contributed to that. You know, lots of cool stuff. I mean, this is heavy hitting, big dollars. These guys do a good job of kind of highlighting things before it gets to me. So I can go with the real heavy hitting stuff, which is Thursday is my anniversary. So I'd like to wish my lovely wife a happy anniversary. We have one of our daughters turning 21 this week. We have one of our sons graduating from college. You know, App State holds a special place in some hearts here, but we got a lot going on this week. So May's a lot of fun in our household. So happy birthday, happy graduation, happy anniversary. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I was given a whole little list of reminders, so I'm going to try to go through them quick. I feel like I have talked a lot tonight. The Wendell Community Garden is welcoming gardeners to join. They want to grow something that can be shared with others, and they are urging people to please participate. It's really fun. One of my sons is involved in it, and he really enjoys it. I believe it's $15 annually. There's 2 growing seasons. The information is on the town website under the Parks and Rec page, so get on there and take a look at that. I think that'd be a fun thing to do with your family. The Wendell Police Department is in need of feedback from the public as part of their initial assessment process with the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, which is CALEA. We've been talking about that for a while, that they're going through the CALEA accreditation process, and this is part of that. So this is an opportunity for the community to submit comments, commendations, and anything else, observations regarding the Wendell Police Department's compliance with CALEA standards, how they've engaged in service of the community, their delivery of public safety services, their overall candidacy as an accredited, had to have accredited status. So you can visit the police accreditation page on the town's website, and we urge you to please go to that and submit your comments. Like I said, this is part of that process. I'm real proud of them for everything that they've done during this process. Our town square, if you haven't noticed it, has been getting some much needed improvements. Electrical connections, I think we maybe originally started off planning to make some upgrades and improvements, and it was one of those things that kind of snowballed, but that's okay, because this means that at the end we're going to have something much better than when we started. We are planning to have, they're planning to put in new sod and an updated gazebo, but the reason I wanted to comment to you was to just remind you to please stay off the sod when it gets there. They asked me to please remind you to please, you're welcome, to have people please stay off the sod. I received an email this afternoon that actually the timing is going to go beyond May 14th, which is what they've indicated on this for me. So watch the signs. I'm sure there'll be signs out there, and please stay off of it until the signs indicate and the barriers are down. Please don't walk on the side so we can have something beautiful over the summer and fall. I want to thank everyone that came out to Public Safety Day this past weekend. It was great. There were a lot of people there. We had a representation from the Wake County Sheriff's Department, the North Carolina Highway Patrol, of course the town of Wendell Police Department. The towns of Zebulon and Nightdale also participated, and it was a great day. You could sign up for Camp Choices, and I don't know that it's full yet, but if you're interested in your child attending Camp Choices, it always fills up pretty quickly. You can get that information from the police department if you want to call them and get signed up. I also want to mention that the Wendell Historical Society had a walking tour of the Green Mount Cemetery yesterday, and I was a docent for the grave of the very first mayor of Wendell, and he actually is not in any of our information that we have here, so we need to update that. He was the very first one. kind of chosen, I think, in a straw poll and approved by the General Assembly when Wendell was very first incorporated in 1903. So, and he's buried there. This is maybe, hopefully, the first thing in a series of great things that are going to happen at the cemetery. I've been kind of planting that seed. I think it needs some attention, and maybe a fence and some trees and some things like that. And I know there are people in this room that are shaking their head at me for me mentioning it in here right now, but I really want that to happen. I think it's important, and I don't think there's even a sign out there, and we need to do better. So this got people out, people were looking, and there are a lot of our outstanding citizens who are buried there. So that information is probably on the Wendell Historical Society website. If not already, it will be soon. And lastly, I want to take a minute to just recognize our town staff. This is a busy time of year. We have a convergence of a lot of things going on. There's the strategic plan, the budget. There's a lot of events because it's spring. School's getting ready to get out. So everything is it's a tight time of year. And these folks work really, really hard for us, and we ask a lot of them. I know that I ask a lot of them, and they haven't started running when they see me coming yet, so they may start eventually. But by the time you layer in to just normal busy time of year, the budget, the strategic plan, the additional events, and oh yeah, the new town hall, we have a lot going on. And they all just meet every single day with a smile and a lot of enthusiasm. And I just want to thank them for that, every single one of them. I really, really appreciate it. You make our jobs very easy. You make my job easy. And I really appreciate it. I can't tell you, we have these conversations about things that we want to do in town when we're in the beginning of the strategic plan time, and then it turns into a strategic plan, and then we decide how we're going to pay for it, and then you get to watch it happen and then watch the citizens enjoy it, and that all happens because of our employees. So thank y'all for everything that y'all do. I see some of you back there. Please pass that on. For me, it's very gratifying to watch, and we really appreciate it. I personally appreciate it. So that said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, we're adjourned.